precious girl. You're just small time.
City is in shock today as the police and emergency services deal with the aftermath of a devastating attack on a police convoy this morning. As yet, no details have been released about the prisoners being transferred in the convoy, and no group has claimed responsibility. The convoy left police headquarters early this morning for a routine transfer of felons to Liberty Penitentiary. The attack took place on the Callahan Bridge, leaving few witnesses and the bridge itself severely damaged. Some of the convicts are thought to have perished in the explosion that followed the initial attack. Revelations as to the professionalism of the attack struck police hours afterward, when identification of the missing felons were further hampered by an attack by computer hackers on police headquarters databases. With the Porter Tunnel project falling behind schedule, this disaster leaves Portland isolated from the rest of the city.
Come on! Senor Dickhead! It's no problem to kill you. You're gonna be sorry. Aye, get lost.
Hey guys, welcome to a PS2 Memories video. Here we're actually doing a review of Grand Theft Auto 3, and the reason why I wanted this to be the first video to be put on the channel is because this was the very first game that I'd ever played on the PlayStation 2. I bought a PS2 console just to play this game. I was that excited by it. I'd been following the build up to it for months, and the very first time I actually got to see it, I was just completely blown away by actually how good it actually looked. The fact is that Grand Theft Auto was finally going to be made into full 3D was quite incredible. The game itself was released in 2001 and published by Rockstar Games, and it was also the best selling game on the console in 2001, and has since gone on to sell over 14 million copies worldwide. Having actually played the first two games on the PlayStation 1, and especially with more or less likes of the original Grand Theft Auto, which is one of my favourite games on the PlayStation 1. I remember actually getting the chance to play it and own it back when it was released in 1997 when I first got my PlayStation 1, and I was just addicted to it myself, and my brothers played the hell out of that game. So eventually, when it came around to 2001, when the PlayStation 2 was actually released, even though the PlayStation 2 had been out actually a little while beforehand, but I was still playing games on the PS1, and I didn't really consider wanting to buy a PS2 at that time. But then I seen in magazines and seen the build up to this game, and I was just like, whoa, I have to get it, because this is just looks insane. And to be honest, actually, I remember actually going out and taking a day off work and saving up money so that I could actually go and buy the console just to play it. What actually happened was I was actually on holidays the week before I actually bought the console, and I actually bought Grand Theft Auto 3 when I was actually on holidays. And the reason why I did that is because I seen it on the shelf and I knew I wanted it, I bought it. But not only that, because it gave me the incentive to actually go out and then buy a PS2, which I'd been putting off for such a long time. So, as they say, great things come to those who wait. It definitely happened when I got to play this game, because for me, I played a lot of the Grand Theft Auto games over the years, and they're all phenomenal titles, but this one here is my personal favourite. I absolutely love this game. It's just so funny. Again, it's the first Grand Theft Auto to be fully 3D, but it has really good storytelling, great voice acting, just insanely funny moments, and just absolute mayhem and chaos. even to a point, because of a lot of those elements. The game was very, very controversial at launch, and it actually did ask a lot of questions, because games back then, even though they were violent to some degree, but they didn't depict real life as much as what this game actually does. And that was also kind of one of the elements that actually caused a lot of controversy, basically. But aside from that, when you put that aside, this is easily one of the best games on the PS2, hands down, and for an early title, it's phenomenal. I still go back to play this all the time, so I do. Even on likes of when it was re-released on the PS4 under the PlayStation Store, that you can get it as a digital download, I still will boot the game up and I will still play it all the time, because it's just my favourite Grand Theft Auto. I love the environments, the city, the one-liners, the gags, the funny jokes, all the bad words and things that people say. It's just everything is just timed to perfection, and just you be laughing your head off with some of the moments in this game. But even at that, the cars, the driving, even the insane stunts, going over jumps and doing all sorts of crazy stuff that even I can't even explain in the video, that you can get away with in the game, is just insane. It really is. It's hilarious and so much good fun. To be honest, when I actually got this game and when I got my PlayStation 2, I actually didn't buy any other games for almost 6 months. I literally just played this game on it. It just, for me, I was just addicted to it, because there was so much to do. Even though I played like the Grand Theft Auto 1 and 2, which were phenomenal games in their own right, but there was just so much more that you could do with this. There was so much more interactivity with the game, like with terms of storylines, actual having voiceovers, listening to the stories, listening to the dialogue of what was going on, listening to how people reacted when you actually done something to annoy them or to do something worse, or if you actually got into a fight with them, or you hit them, or you tried to shoot them with a gun, and you hear the screams of people running away. Everything that you did had a reaction to it. Every choice that you made had some sort of reaction, and that's what was brilliant about it. It was just, the game was just so much fun, and I just played it to death. I could not stop playing it. It was so addictive. But even at that, the choices of the cars, and the fact is that with some of the cars, even with the likes of the taxis and the fire engines and even the ambulances, that you could do separate like missions where you could be like a taxi driver or like a firefighter. So you could have timed kind of submissions where you could complete certain objectives within a time limit to try and gain cash and gain rewards and so forth. So that it was just there was no end to the amount of stuff that you could actually do in the game. But the one thing that really allowed me to really enjoy this even more was the fact is that you weren't restricted to what you see in most games where you're on a linear path, where you actually just have to just follow the missions like from A to B, and when you finish you move on to the next. This game you didn't even have to do that. You could literally just turn it on like what I used to do and play for about an hour, just running around and causing absolute mayhem, just chasing people down in cars, shooting at everything, just stealing things, beating people up, stealing cars, just joyriding and just having so much fun. Just, it was one of those, the first games that allowed you to really do that, where you could just go nuts with it and just have a blast playing it. But not only that, what complemented it so good as well, like the original games too, was the soundtrack in this game is awesome. It really is. You have a great mix of like dance, like reggae, you have old classic like pop, you've even got 80s music, even country and western music. This game has it all. It really is just phenomenal. And back then, it was at a time when games were starting to become more familiar and more mainstream, even though we'd seen a lot of that with the likes of the PlayStation 1, where the PlayStation 1 was a very experimental time in video games, where developers were actually experimenting loads of different ideas, and it was a cool time to be involved with games. Because I'll admit, the PS1 is my favourite console of all time, but it is what personally led me on to want to buy a PS2, because I knew myself that it would be more the same, and it actually was. And especially when I got to play this game as my very first game on the console, I wasn't disappointed at all, because it definitely showed what was actually available on the system, and it showed how good it actually was. And you can see why with games like this, why it went on to be the best selling console of all time, because it already had a good foundation from the previous console, because the PlayStation 1 had so many phenomenal games. So the PlayStation 2 definitely kept with the same formula, but it just improved on it over the years, and this game really helped with that. Now, even though there were other games that were released on the PlayStation 2, there was likes of Grand Theft Auto Vice City and GTA San Andreas, and I love those games also, but I will be honest, Grand Theft Auto 3 for me personally is my favourite Grand Theft Auto game of all time, even more so than the recent Grand Theft Auto 5 and even other spin-offs and so forth. GTA 3 for me just does it. I just love the whole aesthetic, because it's based on the modern day era of that time back in the early 2000s. It just had the look and vibe of something that you see like on TV shows and stuff like that. And then even with the cars, like as you see here, you can drive around in hot rods and muscle cars. people trying to just kill you at every opportunity. As soon as you cause any sort of a ruckus, people just go absolutely nuts, and it's just out and out mayhem and chaos, and it's so much fun. It really is, like. And even with that, there's other different types of cars, all have their own quirks and abilities pretty much, and their own handling physics, and you can just have so much fun with all the different types of cars and just play around with it. Likes of these type of muscle cars were always rear wheel drive, so you'd find yourself going into a drift and skid out and spin the car out all the time. But then you would get into other type of cars that were slower, or what you would do is you'd go pretty much from, in my opinion, which is the best car in the game, which is the Banshee, and it reminds you, it's very like a Dodge Viper. The car's super fast and it has an incredible sound when you're actually driving it. One of the best sounds I've heard, like, of any car in the video game. It's just, I used to just go mad with this car, just to let rip on a straight road, literally just to hear the sound. And one of the main reasons why the cars in this game appeal to me so much, because I'm a big car enthusiast myself. I absolutely love my cars, and the fact is that you had literally a full array of different types of cars that you could actually drive in the game, both slow, fast. Some had really good handling physics, others were definitely not as good. There was something here that catered for your own play style. There really was, like, it just really was so much fun. Even the taxis, even though slow, the taxis were brilliant because they were so good at handling, and you could always do a reverse handbrake turn. You just go into a spin every time you tried to reverse the car. They were so easy to drive, especially when you get new to the game. Taxis were pretty much the go-to car. They were so much fun to drive. It was just, the game is just hilarious. I can't say any more about it. The game is just incredible. It is easily one of my favourite games of all time, and it just always puts a smile on your face. It's just absolute chaos. It's just mayhem. I remember just even myself and my brothers and even my friends would actually just play this for hours. We'd just take turns just playing, or even just if one person was playing it, everybody else would be just watching, and everybody would be just in stitches, just laughing at the game. Like, it was hilarious, because you didn't even have to play the game through the story, like I said, in a serious manner. You just could have a blast and just have a laugh, just going around and just doing crazy stuff, like just getting into fights for no reason on the street with people, just to cause as much mayhem as possible. You didn't even have to think about what you were doing. You just go and just have fun. I'm sure you've had similar experiences playing this game, and you've had as much fun as I've had playing it, because this is one of the best games on the PlayStation 2, if not one of the best games of all time. And again, it's still worth revisiting, and it's just as good today as it's ever been. And I highly recommend, if you haven't played this game yet, what are you doing? You need to play this game. If you're a fan of Grand Theft Auto at all, you need to play, which is arguably one of the best in the series, and my personal all-time favourite. It always has been, it always will be. And I'll always go back to play it, because again, it's just so much fun. But I'd love to hear what you think of this here game, and what are your experiences with it. Share your stories then in the comments below. So if you have enjoyed this video and you'd like to see more style videos like this of other similar games on the PlayStation 2, then make sure to leave a like. Also be sure to subscribe to the channel and hit that bell icon to be updated of future videos. So until next time, keep those gaming memories alive.